Financial literacy is so important for all Canadians, no matter where you live in this country. And sometimes it can be really difficult to access the tools and resources that are going to be most relevant for your individual circumstances. BMO is trying to make a difference for many communities, but Indigenous communities in particular, Inuit, Métis, and First Nations communities whose circumstances can be quite different depending on where they live and sort of the cultural context. We're going to talk about that with Gayle Ramsay. She is head of everyday banking at BMO, and she joins us now from Toronto. Hello there.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Your focus on Indigenous communities fits within a larger thing called BMO Smart Progress. What is that?
So, what it is a tool that allows people to actually learn and get experience in terms of the basics of financial literacy or financial and banking. And it provides people the ability to actually look at different things, whether it could be the fundamentals of banking to budgeting, how to actually plan for a house, how to do retirement, and allows you to kind of learn at your own pace.
What would you say is different for Indigenous communities? And I use that phrase knowing that it just encapsulates so much diversity, urban, rural, on reserve, off reserve, north, south, east, west, like all sorts of differences. But what are some of the through lines that you were trying to design for?
So for us, from an Indigenous community standpoint, they face many challenges, right? In terms stemming from whether it's historical barriers, limited access to services, income disparity, and cultural differences. And so what we did on this thing is this particular platform is available across Canada, but we wanted to actually address some of those challenges specifically for the Indigenous community. And so what we have built is specific with input from our partners in the Indigenous community to make sure that we actually have a tool that actually helps and meets their needs.
And, one of the differences that I can think of is you live in a fly-in community, right? You may be hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of kilometers away. How does that affect their experience of banking in a way that would be quite different from someone who lives and they can, walk or drive to an ATM?
Well, in a lot of those remote communities, you don't actually have a physical branch there, right? And so having access, or people don't always fly up to be able to support. So having access in terms of the tool set that's available online. We also do actual financial literacy workshops that we can actually deliver for them so that they have access to things that, you would actually, if you're in an urban setting, you would have, direct access to. And this allows them in terms of to learn at their own pace, with a tool that is customized in terms to meet their needs, as well as, we have a number of our branch communities that actually will actually travel up there or will actually deliver some of these particular modules online if needed.
As Canadians, we've all been learning a lot about our history that we didn't know. And one of the things that I don't think most of us had any appreciation of was the role that various institutions played with Indigenous communities. And in some cases, how destructive that was for those communities. How do you go about rebuilding trust between your institution, because it is a big institution, employs a lot of people, and the Indigenous communities who may have reticence to engage with, the bank?
Yeah, I think it's fair, that the fact that there's still mistrust is really something, and it's multifaceted. At BMO, that this involves for us is prioritizing trust, fostering genuine relationships, and demonstrating commitment to the communities. And when we look at that, we look at this in terms of three things that we're trying to actually support in terms of doing that. And it's education, it's employment, and it's in economic empowerment.
You talked about partners. Clearly, this is an area in which consultation is critical because there is so much nuance, there's so much context. How did that process unfold? Who were the partners? How did they engage? What are some of the things that were insights for you in terms of customizing an experience for someone who might be either a settler, been here for 10 generations, or a newcomer who arrived last week?
And so from the financial literacy, the piece that we do is engaging the people that we're talking to in terms of those that are looking for support. Within the Indigenous community, we actually have an Indigenous council. And we leverage that council to actually have engagement in terms of the community. We talk to, we have a number of employees that actually are Indigenous, and then we also have another thing. And so what we did is just an example of Indigenous is we actually consulted with them to get input in terms of the content. We did a lot of research to make sure that we were representing that. We've done the same thing in terms of our New to Canada platform that we have as well. And that's part of it. It's input from the people that you're actually, what is the problem you're trying to solve? What information do you require? How do you want to customize that experience? And we leverage that to make sure we're building, a tool set that actually will help them make real financial progress.
What does that look like in 5 years, do you think? I mean, I think it's a really compelling mission. As you think about Indigenous communities in particular, and you look ahead to say, wow, here's what we were able to do for Indigenous communities with these learning modules.
For us, it is a commitment to continuously enhance all the products and services like Smart Progress, and want to ensure that individuals that have access to those tools or resources, that they are making tangible strides towards financial empowerment. I like to say empowerment versus literacy, because I think literacy is the information and empowerment is actually what you get from the modules that we do. And so with BMO, we're going to continue to focus on meeting our customer needs. We're going to continue to make sure we're delivering things that meet their needs, and have tools that will actually make them feel financially empowered and help them achieve their financial goals.
What choice did you make in terms of language? And I ask because there are so many different languages within the Indigenous communities. It's challenging enough to account for the many languages that newcomer Canadians speak. How did you think that through?
It's a really good question, and it's an ongoing challenge. There are many languages. What we have done is in terms of, we have kept it to English and French, but we also are working, when we look at some of those courses we're doing, or in terms of seminars I have, that we actually are to incorporating that into it. We did ask the question about that, about what was the best approach. And so they said, English and French is probably the easiest way to do it. And then you can customize, particularly when you do those seminars.
Interesting. Well, Gayle, thank you for joining us today to talk about it. We appreciate it.
All right. Thank you so much.
Gayle Ramsay is the head of everyday banking at BMO, and she was here to talk about its Smart Progress program with a particular focus on Indigenous communities.